Clothing played an equally critical role. Animal skins were worn with the fur facing inward, trapping body heat instead of letting it escape. Multiple thin layers proved far more effective than a single thick hide. Before sleep, hunters rubbed animal fat onto their skin, creating a wind-resistant barrier that reduced heat loss. Their diets were rich in fat and protein, generating internal heat throughout the night. Going to sleep hungry in the Ice Age could mean never waking up. Today, these ancient techniques are being quietly studied again. Militaries, Arctic researchers, and disaster response planners are revisiting Ice Age survival knowledge to understand how humans can endure extreme cold without modern systems. As climate extremes increase and energy-dependent societies face uncertainty, low-tech survival wisdom becomes powerful. Knowledge that allows people to survive without infrastructure challenges modern control, raising uncomfortable questions about dependence, resilience, and freedom. What once kept humans alive in the Ice Age may soon matter again, not as history, but as preparation. When we imagine the Ice Age, we often picture humans shivering helplessly in the open. But the reality was far more intelligent and deliberate. Survival began with shelter. Early humans understood that wind, not cold alone, was the real killer. They slept inside caves, against rock walls that blocked icy gusts, or built low, dome-shaped shelters using mammoth bones, wood, and tightly stretched animal hides. In snowy regions, they packed snow around their shelters, not realizing scientifically but learning through experience that snow trapped heat like a natural blanket. Inside these spaces, warmth stayed close to the body instead of escaping into the night. Imagine the cold tightening around you like a living thing. The sun has vanished, the wind cuts through the darkness, and the ground beneath your feet is frozen solid. There is no house, no bed, no heat and no technology at all. The temperature plunges far below what the human body is supposed to survive. And yet, somewhere in this endless white wilderness, early humans are lying down to sleep, not for minutes, but for hours. Night after night. They don't freeze to death, they don't disappear, they survive. What knowledge did they possess that modern humans have forgotten? And why, in a world filled with advanced technology, are some powerful countries suddenly looking back at these ancient survival secrets? Because the truth is unsettling. If humans once survived the Ice Age with nothing, maybe we don't need as much as we're told.
Ice Age humans didn't survive because they were stronger, smarter, or luckier than us. They survived because they understood the environment and respected it. Every night they slept was an act of calculated risk, guided by observation, cooperation, and learned wisdom. They accepted discomfort as temporary, but death as permanent. Modern humans, surrounded by comfort, have lost touch with these instincts. We fear cold, despite having technology our ancestors could never imagine. Yet, when systems fail, it is ancient knowledge that endures. The Ice Age teaches us something unsettling. Survival doesn't require complexity, it requires understanding. Shelter, fire, food, clothing, and community were enough then, and they remain powerful now. As the world faces uncertain climates and fragile systems, the question becomes personal. If everything you rely on vanished tonight, would you know how to survive the cold? Ice Age humans did. And perhaps the most dangerous thing today isn't freezing temperatures, but forgetting what humans are capable of when survival truly matters. Perhaps the most underestimated survival tool of the Ice Age was human connection. People did not sleep alone. Group sleeping was essential, not optional. Bodies pressed together reduced exposed surface area, conserving heat naturally. Infants were placed in the center, surrounded by adults, creating a human shield against cold and danger. Stronger individuals slept on the outer edges, enduring colder exposure so others could survive. This arrangement wasn't sentimental, it was survival mathematics. Shared warmth reduced energy loss, allowing the body to maintain temperature without burning excessive calories. Beyond physical warmth, emotional safety mattered. Isolation increased fear, and fear burned energy. Being surrounded by others reduced stress, slowed heart rates, and allowed deeper sleep. In Ice Age conditions, poor sleep weakened immune systems and slowed reaction times, often fatal consequences. Community meant shared responsibility, shared heat, and shared survival. Humans evolved not as lone survivors, but as tightly bonded groups. In a frozen world that offered no mercy, cooperation became the strongest defense. Sleeping together wasn't comfort, it was strategy.
Fire was not a luxury for Ice Age humans. It was life itself. But contrary to popular belief, they didn't sleep beside roaring flames all night. Large fires consumed fuel too quickly and attracted predators. Instead, humans mastered controlled fire, slow-burning embers that released steady heat for hours. These embers were positioned carefully in the center of sleeping areas, radiating warmth without excessive smoke. Sleeping formations formed circles around the heat source, ensuring everyone benefited. The young, elderly, and injured slept closest to the fire, while stronger adults slept farther out, acting as a living barrier. One or two members stayed semi-awake, maintaining embers and listening for danger. Fire served another critical purpose: protection. Predators feared flames, allowing humans to sleep without constant panic. This psychological safety mattered deeply. Fear increases energy loss, making the body burn precious calories just to stay alert. Fire calmed the mind, slowed breathing, and allowed deeper rest. In a frozen world where energy equaled survival, a calm night's sleep could mean the strength to hunt tomorrow. Fire didn't just warm the body, it preserved the mind.
Ice Age humans didn't survive because they were stronger, smarter, or luckier than us. They survived because they understood the environment and respected it. Every night they slept was an act of calculated risk, guided by observation, cooperation, and learned wisdom. They accepted discomfort as temporary, but death as permanent. Modern humans, surrounded by comfort, have lost touch with these instincts. We fear cold, despite having technology our ancestors could never imagine. Yet, when systems fail, it is ancient knowledge that endures. The Ice Age teaches us something unsettling. Survival doesn't require complexity, it requires understanding. Shelter, fire, food, clothing, and community were enough then, and they remain powerful now. As the world faces uncertain climates and fragile systems, the question becomes personal. If everything you rely on vanished tonight, would you know how to survive the cold? Ice Age humans did. And perhaps the most dangerous thing today isn't freezing temperatures, but forgetting what humans are capable of when survival truly matters. Today, this ancient knowledge is no longer just history, it's being studied again. Modern militaries, Arctic researchers, and survival specialists are revisiting Ice Age techniques to understand how humans endure extreme cold without modern technology. As climate extremes intensify and energy systems prove fragile, low-tech survival knowledge becomes incredibly valuable. In remote battle zones, disaster areas, and polar regions, technology can fail, but ancient methods don't rely on electricity or fuel supply chains. Some countries invest heavily in teaching soldiers and specialists how to survive with minimal resources, using principles nearly identical to those of Ice Age humans. This renewed interest raises uncomfortable questions. If people learn how to survive without modern systems, how dependent are they really? Knowledge that reduces reliance on infrastructure shifts power away from centralized control. Survival wisdom becomes freedom. That's why this topic quietly attracts attention and sometimes discomfort. Ancient humans survived because they adapted, not because they dominated nature. That lesson still applies.
During the Ice Age, survival began long before sleep. It began with choosing the right place to rest. Early humans quickly learned that cold alone didn't kill, wind did. Exposed skin lost heat rapidly, so sleeping in open air was a death sentence. That's why caves became natural sanctuaries. Thick stone walls blocked wind and trapped warmth from fires and body. Where caves weren't available, humans built low-profile shelters using mammoth bones, wooden frames, and tightly stretched animal hides. These structures were deliberately small, forcing heat to remain close. In snowy regions, people packed snow around their shelters, unknowingly creating insulation stronger than wood. Snow trapped warm air pockets, turning frozen landscapes into protective barriers. Entrances were kept low and narrow, forcing people to crawl inside, minimizing heat loss. Inside, sleeping areas were raised with leaves, grass, and fur to avoid direct contact with frozen ground. This wasn't random behavior, it was learned through generations of loss and survival. Each night spent alive reinforced knowledge that shelter placement mattered more than size or beauty. To Ice Age humans, a good sleeping spot meant the difference between waking up or never opening your eyes again.
Clothing during the Ice Age was a science learned through suffering. Early humans discovered that animal skins worked best when worn with the fur facing inward, trapping heat close to the body. Multiple layers mattered more than thickness, allowing warm air to remain between skins. These garments weren't loose. They were tightly fitted to prevent wind from stealing warmth. Before sleeping, people often rubbed animal fat onto exposed skin, creating a crude but effective windproof barrier. Fat reduced evaporation and heat loss, especially on the face and hands. Diet also played a massive role in nighttime survival. Ice Age humans consumed high-fat, high-protein meals before sleep, fueling internal heat production throughout the night. Their bodies functioned like slow-burning furnaces. Sleeping on an empty stomach meant the body had no fuel to fight cold. Even bedding with strategic layers of dry grass, moss, fur, and hides elevated sleepers above frozen ground. Heat loss through contact was deadly, so insulation below mattered as much as above. Every piece of clothing, every layer of bedding, represented centuries of trial, error, and adaptation written into survival instinct. When you look back at the Ice Age, it's easy to believe those people survived because they were tougher than us. But the truth is far more unsettling and far more inspiring. They survived because they understood the rules of nature and they lived by them. They knew how to turn snow into insulation, fire into security, food into warmth, and community into life itself. In a world with no comfort and no second chances, they slept through freezing nights not by defeating the cold, but by respecting it. Today, surrounded by technology, we've forgotten those instincts. Yet as climates grow harsher and systems more fragile, ancient survival knowledge is quietly becoming relevant again. The real question isn't how humans slept in the Ice Age, it is whether modern humans could survive without everything they depend on. Because if our ancestors could endure the coldest era in human history with nothing but wisdom and cooperation, then maybe survival has never been about what we own.
Perhaps the most powerful survival tool was community. Humans slept close together, sharing body heat in tight groups. Infants were placed at the center, surrounded by adults, while outer sleepers acted as living shields against cold and danger. This physical closeness reduced stress and fear, allowing the body to conserve energy instead of burning it through panic. Warmth was not just physical, it was emotional, and it mattered.